What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the Daily Dish Tournament Edition. We are on location right now in Kansas City. Just got here for the Big 12 tournaments. The women play tomorrow as we're recording this, and they're going to play Baylor. So that's what we're going to talk about today. Definitely kind of an anticipated matchup because, I mean, Baylor is a team that, they didn't get the opportunity to play twice during the season. Mm-hmm. They got the win at home at Hilton, but, Hilton South, of course, is real. But Baylor's still a tough team to get over.
Yeah, we saw that, it was a really close game that first time. Iowa State and Baylor down to the wire. Just a great atmosphere last time. And we're going to have to hope that Cyclone Nation shows up this time because Baylor's probably out holding a grudge and looking for revenge.
Yeah, I think the weird thing this time is, although a lot of, Iowa State travels pretty well to the Big 12 tournaments. Mm-hmm. I think this year with it being separated, the men's and the women's being during different weeks, we could see kind of a little bit of an adjustment period because it is hard to be at both tournaments the whole time because it is almost 2 weeks of basketball.
Yeah.
So.
And, Brett kind of brought something up pretty interesting when we were driving down here was that, Baylor, they have this extra game now, too. They have the momentum going in this game against Iowa State, which, you can look at it from different angles. Iowa State's coming off, a week of rest or, more than a week of rest. And now Baylor, maybe this hot team that really everyone kind of thought that they were going to be a 4 seed heading into this tournament.
Yeah, and I mean, you talk about that. They are a really hot team, 6 straight wins. That's real. And I mean, right now, they've played a game in the Big 12 tournament. They just beat Texas Tech by 11 points. So, I mean, they have a game under their belt. So, I don't know if I'm in the boat where it's maybe they're going to be a little bit fatigued where Iowa State's going to be 100% ready to go. Or maybe they've already got this game out of the way. They're already experienced. They're already on a roll. And now they have the very, very recent momentum. So, maybe they're going to roll into this game even hotter than what they would be if they had been the 4 seed and Iowa State was coming in with a win.
And you talk about how, Iowa State hasn't played for a week, but they are riding their own winning streak as well. Mm-hmm. Bill Fenley's talked about it before of they made that 4-game calendar of saying, here's where we are, here's the end of the season. And they rode that to a undefeated stretch, 4-0 to finish the season. So there is momentum for the Cyclones, but like you were saying, that momentum for Baylor might be enough to get the edge for them, but I guess we'll have to see.
And this was kind of a perfect scenario with Bill doing that. I remember when I heard that they had that little calendar, when you guys were talking about it, I was like, okay, well, really, this only works if you win all 4 games. And they did, which is, awesome to see for them going into this tournament, especially with the implications of getting that double bye in the first couple rounds. But, honestly, we kind of talked about, I don't know if Bill Fenway I don't think he got snubbed for Big 12 Coach of the Year, but this is definitely one of his most impressive, especially with the last stretch that they had where, just the idea of having a really focusing your team in on those last 4 games. And I'm assuming that he's probably got something cooked up for these next couple games here in Kansas City.
Yeah, he kind of designed it well where, we weren't expecting them to win all 4 of those, but they did. And now they have the momentum. And I think that's the momentum they're going to need to get over Baylor because obviously Baylor it's very hot right now. We saw what they did to Texas Tech. So to beat a team like that, you can't really come in cold because if you come in cold, you're just going to get rolled over as they continue to snowball. So I think it's good where they're sitting right now. And yeah, credit to Bill Fenley for what he's done, especially throughout the entire season with this team.
And it was so unknown, too, because of all the pieces they lost from last year with transfers and seniors leaving and everything like that. And you come into this year with what a lot of people probably set as low expectations, maybe a rebuilding year with all the freshmen. And then you have the impact that Emily Ryan isn't going to be starting this season. And you think, all right, maybe next year. But they rallied, they battled, and they go 12-6, and they've got a shot at possibly, making a run here for the Big 12 tournament.
Yeah, and you talk about low expectations, and that's kind of where they came in last year when they won the Big 12 championship. Yeah. We're seeing almost the exact same thing play out. Although last year, yes, they had an Ashley Jones, but this year they have an Audie Crooks. So they came into last year's Big 12 tournament in a pretty similar situation. They're playing Baylor in the first round. They're not expected to beat Baylor in the first round because Baylor was a team that matched up really well against them, which I mean, this year they match up well the same way. And then they end up winning that game. They get the momentum. They end up beating Oklahoma, another team that they weren't expected to beat, which this year, if the brackets play out, they're going to meet Oklahoma again. And then they play Texas in the finals, which that could also happen again. So maybe we're going to see a second fairy tale happen in
Got the
Kansas City.
historian coming in on this podcast, in this episode.
Yep. I was thankfully there to watch them bring home the Big 12 title, although it was a long time before the last Big 12 title. So, maybe we're going to see another drought again. It's kind of hard to go back-to-back in the Big 12, that's for sure.
And it's definitely going to be interesting to see how this very experienced Baylor team matches up against, an Iowa State team that has been playing 5 freshmen for most of the season. Nymir Dew's minutes are starting to go down, but Emily Ryan is still there. And honestly, it's just really impressive what Fennelly and this, recruiting class has done. With what you were alluding to, you're really in the same position as they were last season when they had, Lexi Donarski, Ashley Jones, Danae Fritz. Yeah. Like, there's just crazy to see that the amount of turnaround that they've had and to still get back to where they are.
Yeah. And I mean, you just talk about the freshmen. I mean, the freshmen have kind of been better than what we expected. I mean, I think we knew that they were going to be really good. But for them to adjust this fast is kind of crazy. I mean, they obviously don't have like an Ashley Jones on the team again, as I keep saying, because, obviously Ashley Jones, one of the better players in Iowa State history.
Yeah.
But Emily Ryan has done such a good job at just bringing this team together and getting them. I assume she's just been kind of the coach in the background while she was injured. She was the coach while she, helped this team kind of get up to speed faster than we would have expected.
And she talked about how Ariana Jackson, one of the freshmen, had to step up into an extended role. They were expecting Emily Ryan to start the season, but because of not starting, it's Ariana Jackson who goes in there, and she made an impact early. You had Addie Brown be an impact, and then Audie Crooks got in there, and then that led to Audie Crooks and Addie Brown being named to a couple of the, the Big 12 all, Audie Crooks makes the first team, Addie Brown gets an honorable mention, and they both make the Big 12 all-freshman team. Third time in Iowa State history that 2 freshmen make that list. So it's been a special group this season, and yeah, they're going to have to step up once again to bring it home.
I think if we want to roll into predictions here first, we kind of have to also talk about the 2 main factors for Iowa State, or at least from my standpoint, where it's you got to get Hannah Bellinger going from 3, which we were talking about on the way down here. If you get her going, that's going to be a big threat, as in it always is in women's college basketball. And then Audie Crooks. If Audie Crooks gets shut down early, that's when I think this kind of starts to get away from Iowa State. But, I think even with the experience that Baylor has over them, Audie Crooks has only been shut down a couple times this season. And I think with this big of a stage, I think, they got something worked out pretty well. So I would probably take the Cyclones in this one just because, you might look at the experience outmatch, but I think the style of play at which Iowa State plays at is just going to, put Baylor on their heels for the first couple, or, first half at least.
Yeah, I see like a couple things going on, and I know that you mentioned it to me on the way up here, Brett, is that Baylor's wasn't quite sure what the freshmen were going to do the first time around.
Yep.
And since we haven't seen Iowa State play against Baylor on Baylor's turf, we don't really know if they are going to game plan any better against the freshmen. Because, I mean, it was the newcomers that really lit it up against Baylor, because that was before Emily Ryan was starting to get more minutes. And that's kind of goes into my second point, is that now Emily Ryan is back up to full minutes. She wasn't really at full strength that first time around. And on the other hand, Hannah Bellinger is still kind of shooting lights out. She's honestly she hit a little bit of a rough streak there when they were on their losing streak. But since they've been winning, Hannah Bellinger has been lights out. So, I mean, you talk about Hannah Bellinger being a factor. I think she will probably be a factor because she is kind of doing really well at the moment. And then you add on Emily Ryan into that. I think you have more pieces where maybe Baylor is going to come in expecting the freshmen to do well and, trying to shut down Audie Crooks. And I think this Cyclone team is going to be a little bit different than the team that they saw at Hilton. So I think if Hilton South goes out, I do have faith in the Cyclones pulling this out.
Yeah, not to like be repetitive or anything, but yeah, Hannah Bellinger, like you guys were saying, she was the leading 3-point shooter when they played the first time, shot 3 for 4, 15 points, and she's going to need to have a performance like that. Like you were saying, when she shoots well, the Cyclones play well. When she doesn't shoot well, the Cyclones don't play well. And then it was also Audie Crooks who led scoring, led the way inside. And the one time that she really got shut down this season was against Oklahoma when they started to bring that double team. And then, things kind of spiraled out of control there. But if the outside can hit, if Hannah Bellinger can hit, if couple other players like Emily Ryan, Addie Brown, Ariana Jackson can hit some big threes, then the Cyclones are going to have a good chance to win this game. And then with Audie Crooks as well, she's had games where she's played experienced players, but she's hung with them. Like, look at Ioka Lee. Both times they played Kansas State, she hung with her the whole time.
Yeah, I mean, she's just been a presence. I mean, it's crazy how well she's just been doing this entire season. Because, going into it, I wasn't sure, like, maybe she'd be able to maintain this pace through conference play. But she's almost been better in conference play, which is just kind of crazy to see. So I don't really see her really slowing down even a little bit during the Big 12 tournament.
Yeah, this team just looks like they have gotten better and better as the season has gone on. And maybe that rough patch that they had in the middle was kind of necessary to say, we need to right things right now before it does spiral fully out of control. And then they made that calendar probably, and they got back on track, and they finished the season out very, very well.
Yeah, and I mean, I think, you talk about, obviously Baylor will probably have more presence in the paint. So if the outside is hitting, they're going to be good. But I think me and Logan obviously know from watching the men's team all the time is shots don't always fall. And I've seen that too with the women's team where shots aren't falling. You can have a cold night, especially coming off a week of no games. So it almost feels like this is a coin flip game to me where it's like really either team can win. I think if you give them like a 7-game series, I think they're probably one of the teams is pulling out like a 4-3 win. It's just one of those that's kind of hard to look at.
And a girl we haven't really talked about on this podcast yet is Addie Brown. I think we kind of forget about how great that she's been as a freshman. I know you mentioned her as a honorable mention on that Big 12 team, but really also she offers she's a bigger guard, which I think Baylor's probably going to they're going to struggle with because kind of like what you were alluding to, you're going to double team, Hannah Bellinger on the outside, and then you're gonna, try and force shots outside from, Audie Crooks are kind of force her to push the ball outside. But I think Addie Brown just having that extra, ball handler out there, an efficient scorer alongside Emily Ryan as well. I mean, we talk about mainly Hannah Bellinger and Audie Crooks, but they have some girls that have also helped them out tremendously to get where they are today.
Yeah, and I mean, another player that we're kind of missing out on is Naimir Dew. Last year, she was also in kind of a backseat role last year, but it was during the Big 12 tournament when she really turned it on. And there were some games where she would hit some crucial threes to get the team going. I think, obviously, she doesn't see as many minutes this time around, but if she is out there, maybe halfway through, maybe the second quarter, she goes out and she knocks down 1 or 2, she gets people going. I think there's a lot of impact players that if they're hitting, I think everybody else will hit. They'll feed off the energy. And then we go kind of back into Hilton South. And I think if all the energy works for them, I think Iowa State could be a dangerous team.
And just, Logan, to kind of follow up what you were saying with Addie Brown, she was the only Cyclone that started every game this year. So she's been kind of the Iron Man of the season, and she's the only one who had 9 double-doubles, which was the most. She's been so close to a triple-double. I mean, I've wanted it to happen so much this season, but she just hasn't gotten there. Then, like you were saying with Naidu, I think that she's going to go out hungry, even hungrier than last year for this one, because it is her final ride here at Iowa State. So she probably wants to go out on top again. But for me, the player that I'm looking for to have a big impact in this one is Ariana Jackson, because her defense, I think, is the best on the Cyclones roster. And it's going to be needed against Baylor because when you look at the stats, Iowa State and Baylor, they score right around the same amount of points per game at 75, but it's Baylor's defense that's averaging about 10 points less per game to opponents. So I think if Ariana Jackson can lock it down on defense, if she can hit some clutch threes like she's been able to do, when she shoots, they go in. And she hits shots at big times. So I want to see her have a big game tomorrow.
You talk about, Ariana Jackson being great defensively. Also, Naidu and Emily Ryan have both had great, especially Emily Ryan has been great defensively her whole time at Iowa State, but especially Naidu can step in crucial moments. We saw it against Caitlin Clark in the Iowa game, and she's shown it throughout the season where she can step up defensively. So I think those three players really are going to be huge defensively.
Yeah, I like that you brought up that Addie Brown was the only starter throughout the entire season, because I completely forgot that Audie Crooks didn't start that first game. Which
First 4 games.
Yeah,
actually.
first 4, because what Isnell was in there.
Yep.
Which is somebody else to pay attention to, because what was it when they went? I don't know. They went down to somebody.
Yeah.
Was it
Probably the
K-State?
Kansas State game. Both Kansas State games. I mean, she provided some quality minutes. The first game when they came to Ames, she had, I think, 10 points on 5 for 6 shooting.
Mm-hmm.
Went perfect in the first half, and she only played 12 minutes that game. So it was crucial, her impact in that game when Audie Crooks was out, to keep the Cyclones in that game.
Yeah, and we really don't talk that much about Isnell, because Audie Crooks is just so good. But if a team is really game planning around Audie Crooks, which I think all of these teams in the Big 12 tournament are going to have their eyes just set on her, because obviously you have a player this good who's really fighting for that. She unanimous all Big 12 team. Mm-hmm. So it's like, she's good, but you have a player coming off the bench that can fill in the minutes if need be. Obviously not be as big of a presence as Audie Crooks, but she can still do a lot, and she has done a lot. So, there's so many just impact players. And then, going back to defense, going back to Ariana Jackson, I like that you bring her up, because she really has been just so good defensively. And the fact that Baylor's defense is as good as it is, and that they're both similar offensively, it really will probably come down to defense and who is better on defense.
I'm excited. I don't know about you guys, but just getting down here in Kansas City, just knowing that we're here now. Leading up to, I'm like, oh yeah, we're going to go down here. We're going to be down here for a couple of days covering the men's and women's tournament. But with Brett being down there at the game tomorrow, and then we'll be in K-State, it's a great time, and it's March, and I'm ready.
Yeah, March is here. It's finally arrived.
March Madness is here.
Yeah. Can you really ask for a better time of the season?
Mm-hmm. I'll just throw this out here real quick. Iowa State is undefeated in March. They won on senior night on March 2nd. So, hey, they can continue that run.
Men are also undefeated in March.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So somebody's going to have to take them down, or maybe not. Maybe we'll see repeat Big 12 title and Iowa State clearing out the men's side. Possibly. But I guess really all you can do is wait and see, because you can't really predict anything in March. That's the name of the game. So we will be back with more content regularly for you guys now that we're here. So stay tuned, and thank you for watching.